Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Easy Learn. And today's topic is the sine rule, where we're going to be practicing a few questions. If you haven't watched my sine rule explanation video yet, pause right here, check the link in the description below, go understand the concept first, and then come back for solving. So today's question is, in the triangle ABC, let's suppose this is my triangle ABC. AC is 14 centimeter, BC is 10 centimeter, and angle ABC is 63 degrees. So this is the angle ABC, that's 63 degrees. The first part of the question says, find angle CAB. So CAB means the middle letter is the angle that we're supposed to find. So A is the angle that they're asking for. So let me just mark it as my x degrees. Now I have to find my x. So now that you see, we're dealing with two lengths and two angles. Two lengths are given to me, two angles are there, but one of them is available and one of them is missing. So I'm going to be using the sine rule. Considering the fact I have two angles and two lengths, I'm going to be using sine rule, and sine rule says sine A over small a equals sine capital B over small b. Now if I write all of that down, so I have my sine 63 over 14. And how do I decide that? The capital A, the length that is right opposite to the capital A is always going to be my small a, and the length that is right opposite to my capital B is going to be my small b. So your A and B could be anything. The only thing that's important is that whichever angle you're taking, the length opposite to that would be the length, the corresponding length for it. So if I'm taking sine 63 first, so the length that corresponds to it is 14. And that is equal to sine x is unknown, over 10. Now if you notice in this, it was written sine A, but I'm actually taking angle B. That's here. So again, it doesn't matter what letters are there, the sine A over A and B over B. This is just a way of writing it down. Doesn't really matter what your letters are in the triangle. What if I have it as X, Y, and Z? Even if I have something like this, even in that case, I'm going to be taking the 63 over 14. Why? Because this is the format. So you don't have to worry about which one's your A, B, and C in literal sense, because this is just a way of writing this formula. It's just how it's written. So you don't have to worry about the letters. Okay, moving on. So sine 63 over 14 equals sine x over 10. Then I can just do sine 63 divided by 14 first. That gives me 0.0636. Make sure your calculator is set on degrees. And then I'm going to write down sine 63 over 14, which is 0.0636 equals sine x over 10. Now, another thing, since I have to find my x, so I need to isolate it. I need to make x the subject, and for that, I'm going to be taking my 10 to the other side first. So, since 10 is in division over here, when it goes to the other side, it turns into multiplication. So 0.036 times 10 equals sine x. And when I multiply it with 10, it's 0.636. So 0.636 is equal to sine x. Now again, since I gotta find my x, I'm gonna take the sine to the other side. And as already discussed in a lot of our previous videos, that when sine goes to the other side, it turns into something like this, sine minus 1. This is known as the inverse, sine inverse. So when sine goes to the other side, it turns into inverse. And I'm going to do sine minus 1 of 0.636. That is going to be equal to my x. So when I check that on my calculator, again, make sure your calculator is set on degrees. And then you're going to select this function that is I and V. And then I and V of sine inverse. We have this one, sine minus 1, cos minus 1, tan minus 1. Because we're dealing with sine, I'm going to select sine minus 1, and it's going to give me something like this, arc sine of 0.36636. So that gives me something like this, 39.4, which means that this angle right here that was x is equal to 39.5 degrees. So that's my x. Now coming back to the second part of the question. So the second part of the question says, find the length AB. So this is the length that they're talking about. So let me just call it as my x. Now again, keeping in mind that if we're dealing with two lengths and two angles, we're going to be doing the sine rule, which says sine A upon A equals sine B upon B. But now if you look carefully, if I want to find this x, I should be finding out the angle that is right opposite to x. I cannot apply my sine A upon small a until and unless I have this angle C. This angle C is missing. So how do I find that out? Now you should be knowing that in a triangle, the three sides, the three angles are always equal to 180 degrees, which means that I have my two angles, that's 39.5 and 63. If I add them up and subtract from 180, I'm going to get my third angle, that is C. So 180 minus 39.5 plus 63, and what does that give me? It gives me 77.5. So this angle C right here is equal to 77.5. And now, once I have my third angle, then I can simply use my sine rule. So sine A over A equals sine B over B. So in that case, I have my sine 77.5 over the x equals the sine B over B. Now for sine B over B, it's my wish. Whichever you want to take. You can take the 39.5 and the corresponding length with it, that is the 10. Or you can take 63 and the corresponding length, which is 14. It really depends on you, but you cannot do 39.5 over 14 because that's not the corresponding length to this angle. This one is the length. So I'm gonna be like 39.5 was the one that I found out myself. So I won't risk it. I'm gonna be using the one that they have already given. And it's always a better idea to take the one that was already given to you, because you never know. Maybe my first part would be wrong. In an examination, probably you were stressed, or maybe you miscalculated something and you found out the A part as wrong. So if you take the same answer for your B part as well, obviously both of them are wrong. But maybe if you just take the you take the one that was already given to you, and then you find the B part, so even if you have the A part is wrong, the B part is going to turn up correct because you'll be using the right value. So I'm just going to be safe, and I'm going to be using 63. So I'm going to write sine 63 over the corresponding length to it, that is 14. Now again, I can just do first thing, because I have to find my x and x's in the denominator. So whenever you have an unknown value in the denominator, so it's just best to take it to the other side and get rid of the denominators. So x goes over there and 14 comes here. Both are in division right now. So when they go on the opposite sides, they turn into multiplication. So I will have something like this: 14 times sine 77.5 equals x times sine 63. So first thing, I'm going to find 14 times sine 77.5. That gives me something like this. Now make sure your calculator is set on degrees, and then sine 77.5 times 14 gives me 13.668. So I can just round that off, or I can keep it like this. It's always better to keep your answer, like when you're midway of your solutions, then just keep your answer to at least 3 to 4 decimal places, just to get a more accurate answer, and then the final answer could be rounded off. So I'm just going to do 13 point, let's say, 668. And then now, because I have to find my x, so I'm going to be taking my sine 63 to the other side. Now sine 63 is in multiplication with the x, so when it goes to the other side, it turns into division. So 14 times sine 77.5 is 13.668 divided by sine 63 gives me my x. So if I do that on my calculator, again, make sure your calculator is set on degrees. So 13.668 divided by sine 63 is 15.3399, and so on. So I can just round it off to 15.3. So this length right here is becomes 15.3 centimeter. So this is how you find out your answers. Just make sure that you know the sine rule, memorize it well, and then you should be aware of the concept that if whichever you're taking as your capital A, the length right opposite to that becomes your small a, and so on. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, any confusions, you can drop them down in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching Easy Learn. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. And take care of yourselves until next time.